Hi everyone. How's everyone doing? Let's get started in a minute, 2 minutes. Feel free to let me know where you're joining from in the chat. All right, let's get started. Feel free to start asking questions in the chat. And while we're waiting for questions, I can just provide a few updates on a couple of things that I'm working on right now. So, since there seems to be a lot of interest in authorship and how to meet the authorship criterion, specifically as an industry professional, it seems like a lot of the questions I'm getting are about how to start writing papers, how to start peer reviewing, how to get those opportunities. Who should I reach out to get those opportunities? How do I reach out? So as a result, I'm now working on a couple of workshops with people who have experience with writing papers, not necessarily for EB-1A. It's just something that they've done before because of their experience in different fields and through various fellowships. So, yeah, right now I'm talking to a couple of people to set up these workshops that will then provide those of you who are interested in the authorship criterion on ways to get started with working towards that criterion. And those workshops will share insights into how to get started with papers, how to peer review, where to find peer review opportunities, how to get involved in member organizations. So these workshops will cover more of these topics, and they will be with people who have experience with peer reviewing, with writing papers, with research. So those are just some updates on what I'm working on. Feel free to start asking questions about EB-1A profile building, or if you have any questions about NIW or O1 profile building, feel free to share them in the comments as well. Anyone have questions? So yeah, this is something I just kind of repeat all the time, but it is what will help you make the most progress on EB-1A profile building. It is to get into the habit of continually reaching out to top professionals in your field, especially professionals who are already highly involved in your field. Because when you're first starting off with EB-1A profile building, you might be a top professional. You might have risen to the top of your field, but for a lot of top professionals, especially say software engineers, you're not really used to speaking at conferences. You're not really used to giving workshop presentations. Definitely not used to peer reviewing, and definitely not used to writing research papers. So a lot of these activities are going to be very new to you. And the way, at least in my view, the way to quickly develop an understanding of how to do these activities is to talk to the people who have already done these activities. These could be fellow profile builders. So that's something that kind of happens within my private group, within my newsletter. People are talking to other people who have done certain activities, and everyone's sharing insights on how they're doing certain activities. That is something that you definitely want to be looking for when you're profile building for EB-1A. Other profile builders who can give you insights into activities they're doing, but not just profile builders. You can also focus on people who have done these activities, who have some sort of common connection with you. They could be alumni of companies you worked at, or even university alumni, or just mutual connections. Ask these people about how they started to do these activities, how they say started speaking at top conferences, how they started giving workshops at top conferences, how they started to get involved in research. Because without that contextual knowledge, it's going to be quite hard for you to even identify the different ways to get involved in your field because there's just so many. You want to be talking to people who already have an understanding of the landscape, have an understanding of what kinds of organizations to go for, what kinds of conferences to look at, who maybe to even contact to start doing research. Maybe they have specific research contacts they can share with you. So that's just something to keep in mind when profile building for EB-1A. To continually do outreach, because that is how you get a much better understanding of how to go about profile building for your specific field, especially if you get in touch with top professionals who have already been building up the profile either for EB-1A or just are highly involved in the field because they're interested in showcasing and sharing their expertise. So that's just something I can't really repeat enough times because it is honestly what makes the most difference in profile building. And just to give you a very practical example, I probably get this question every single week, how to find peer review opportunities. And one answer I've come across is email a ton of people who recently published and in say an IEEE journal, and you can find these people in IEEE Explorer. So look for these people, look for their emails and LinkedIn's, and just reach out to them. Say, I saw this paper you wrote, maybe some comments about the paper, and then talk about a bit about your background and how you can help, and see if you can get peer review opportunities from either them because maybe they're working on papers right now, or they know people who are working on papers that you can help review. And I'm not saying reach out to like 2 to 3 of these people. I'm saying reach out to 50 to 100 of these people and see if you can find peer review opportunities that way. The other way is to reach out to people in leadership positions at top conferences, especially research-focused conferences in your field. Reach out to these people. Again, use the same format I just described when reaching out. And then that's how you firstly build a relationship with them, have a conversation, and then show how you can help them. How can you help their conference? How can you help their organization? And then ask if there are opportunities for you to help by peer reviewing or even by speaking. So yeah, that's why I can't really emphasize outreach enough. And that is just a practical example of how outreach can be powerful. Because say you reach out to 50 to 100 people and 5 respond. That's potentially already 5 peer review opportunities. And with 5 peer review opportunities, you already have made significant progress towards the judge role criterion. And that can happen in a matter of 2-3 weeks, assuming you do outreach properly. And I talk about outreach extensively in my newsletter with a lot of articles shared on how to do outreach with specific examples. So that is something you really want to nail down. I think it's more important than having, say, some sort of in-depth understanding of the criteria or knowing every single little nuance with like someone's case and how they got EB-1A. Because for your specific case, outreach, it's just doing the outreach that is important. Stop relying on conceptual understandings of EB-1A, thinking that in itself will strengthen your case. Without putting things into action, you will not be able to build a strong profile, regardless of how many courses you attend or people you talk to about this and that way to strengthen your profile. None of that matters if you don't do anything about it. In fact, lean more towards doing things than consuming a ton of content and not doing anything. Consume a bit, then go do a lot, and then repeat, review. Yeah, that's why outreach is so important. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. All right, since there are no questions, I'm just going to briefly go through some of my newsletter resources. So as part of my paid newsletter, which is $12 per month, you get access to a bunch of resources. One of those resources is this profile building opportunities database, which I've broken down into various fields. I've categorized opportunities by criteria. And these are just opportunities that you can start with to start building towards, say, the judge role criterion or with helping with final merits. So there are some speaking opportunities listed. I think there are over 300 opportunities at this point for this database, which I continually update. I pretty much update this every 2 days. So these are just concrete opportunities that you can get started with to start building towards a strong EB-1A profile. These are actual real life opportunities. So this is just one of the resources. I also occasionally review AO decisions. I haven't really reviewed any in the past few weeks, but I will definitely get back to reviewing these decisions. These are appeals decisions published by the appeals office that go into USCIS's initial reasoning for rejecting an EB-1A petition or an NIW petition or an O1 petition. And from these decisions, which go into USCIS's reasoning, I draw profile building insights that can help you with profile building for EB-1A, for NIW, and for O1. So I have a bunch of these in my newsletter resources. Also building out my video resources. These are recorded conversations with people who've gone an EB-1A, with people who've gone NIW. No one yet for O1, but NIW and EB-1A. I am speaking to a couple of people right now who have gone their EB-1A approved. So these are conversations that go into questions that a lot of you ask me about, such as how to claim leading a critical role, how to get reference letters, when to get reference letters, how many reference letters. These questions are covered within these conversations, and I will be uploading another video this weekend. And in addition, I also have a bunch of, so I also have a private group. I think it's like there's a private chat and a private group. So this is just a space where people within my newsletter interact and help each other. So, and they teach each other how to work towards things, which is great to see. But yeah, it's right now a pretty big group, and people are just helping each other out and answering questions for each other, and then asking me questions, and then I chime in sometimes if I can. So that's another thing you get access to as part of my newsletter, which is $12 per month. And then finally, you also get access to my points of contact database. These are just people I've spoken to already. These are reporters, event organizers, just people you want to be talking to, and you can just reach out to them. I have their contact information listed out, and you can just mention my name and then start that conversation right away. So I'm slowly building out this list. I recently added an IEEE student chapter president, so they're doing some research in AI. So definitely a contact you want to look into if you're interested in, say, peer reviewing opportunities or even working on papers with some of these undergraduate researchers. So yeah, those are my resources. Ashkat asks, what if you've never given a talk on a topic? I've worked on more product suite of tech than some more fundamental contributions, so not sure how to approach profile building. So if you've never given a talk on a topic, find smaller scale opportunities to give a talk on the topic. If you want to get speaking opportunities eventually, you're probably going to want to speak. So gather up some evidence of you speaking on a topic that you claim to be an expert on. And that could be going to local chapter events or even meetups to speak about your expertise. That's the way to get started. You don't have to go to the top industry conference to speak with no speaking experience, nor, unless, I'm not saying everyone, but it's unlikely that you're going to get that opportunity. But if you do, great. But if you don't, you can start with small scale opportunities. Build up that record of expertise, record of speaking experience, talk, and share. Share what you've done on places like LinkedIn with your colleagues. And then you never know who's going to notice you for your talk. And then that could be a way to get those more prestigious speaking opportunities. Quantum Learner asks, how does USCIS categorize robotic process automation within the EB-1A visa classification? Can you explain the two-step evaluation for EB-1A petitions and how it applies to RPA specialists? I think EB-1A doesn't really differentiate between fields. You just have to show that you've risen to the top of your field, however you define that field. As for the two-step process, it is first, do you meet 3 criteria? If you do, then it's final merits. It's when USCIS takes a step back and checks to see if you've risen to the top of your field, if everything makes sense, if you've shown extraordinary ability, and if you've shown sustained acclaim. If you can't show that you also pass fine, if you can't show strong final merits, you most likely will get denied. Doesn't matter if you can meet 3 criteria, because a lot of people can meet 3 criteria, even junior professionals. Like, say you have authorship, judging, and I don't know, like awards. That could be 3 criteria. It's just that at final merits, USCIS will step back and see, oh, all your awards are just for junior professionals. All your judging is for, I don't know, like junior professionals. So just although you meet the 3 criteria, it looks like you haven't risen to the top of your field, because compared to a top professional in your field, you don't have what they have. Then you're going to be, as a junior professional, you're going to be compared to a senior professional. So, yeah, final merits is more important than people make it out to be. I know there's just like focus on the 3 criteria, but that is not the only piece of the EB-1A evaluation process. You are also going to be subject to final merits, and that comes from, and to strengthen final merits, you're going to want to do things that really do show that you've risen to the top of your field. That could be speaking at prestigious conferences, that could be serving in board positions, that could be serving in top committee positions. Just a couple of things you can do to strengthen the final merits of your case. And those opportunities don't even have to relate to any of the criteria, because, for example, speaking is unrelated to any of the criteria, but it can still help with strengthening your case, because speaking at a top conference is not something that everyone can do in your field. And if you can show that you had to undergo a rigorous selection process, then that is even better for strengthening final merits. I cannot see anyone in this field of robotic process automation who applied for EB-1A, so I don't have any reference to gather any information regarding my field. How should I deal with the situation? So one thing you can do is to try to find some of these people. You can find these people. Some people list like EB-1A in their LinkedIn profile, so maybe that could be a place to start. Search for these people on LinkedIn. Ask around as well to see, and you can search up EB-1A recipients on LinkedIn and then ask them if they know anyone in your field. But I wouldn't be too concerned about whether someone in your field has gotten approved for EB-1A. I would be more concerned about whether you can even show that you've risen to the top of your field and whether you can meet the 3 criteria. Any other questions? Feel free to ask questions in the comments. But yeah, I get this question all the time. It's like, I can't find anyone in my field who's gotten an EB-1A. Does it mean EB-1A is not possible for my field? No, not really. Right. So I mean to qualify for membership, conference speaking in my field, so I don't have a reference. So it's hard to, very few things automatically qualify you for EB-1A. If you win a Nobel, then you probably will get EB-1A. Outside of that, there are no like thresholds that once you reach, you automatically get EB-1A. You should try to avoid that mindset as well, because then you end up in this checklist mode of thinking where like you check this box, and then, oh, like I don't have to do anything else for my profile anymore. I can just apply and get EB-1A. But because there are no defined thresholds and there are no specific definitions for terms like sustained acclaim and extraordinary ability, you might just end up getting an officer who has much higher thresholds than you expected. So just throw away this like threshold mentality. So for membership, talk to other top professionals in your field. It doesn't even have to be someone who's working to get EB-1A. you can just talk to top professionals and see what kinds of memberships they're involved in, maybe what boards they're a part of, what advisory committees, advisory boards, what kind of committees are they a part of, what kind of technical committees, and ask them how they got involved and how you can get started. That could be volunteering for an event and signing people in. That is a perfectly valid way to get involved in an organization, because that's how you start meeting people. That's how you start learning how to contribute. So, yeah, you don't have to find someone who's gotten an EB-1A to know what will work for your field. Just talk to top professionals in general to see what they are doing. Same for conferences. Those are your reference points, not people who've gotten an EB-1A. Top professionals in your field. Morelli asks, what's your suggestion for someone who can't publish anything and can't present in conference to build a profile, work on membership and judging? You don't need authorship to get EB-1A. You don't even need to speak at a conference to get EB-1A. What you can target instead are judging and membership. Judging as in peer reviewing papers, as in judging industry competitions like hackathons. Make sure you're judging the work of other industry professionals and not just students, or judging the awards, the top awards in your field. You can do all those things and not have to publish anything or not have to present at a conference. So judging, membership, try to get in a top committee, try to get a board position, try to get into a technical committee, an advisory board, an advisory committee, fellowship even. Although it's not necessary. Membership, that being said, membership is difficult to meet, but if you can do all those things that I just mentioned, you will also strengthen the final merits of your case. Doesn't have to mean you will meet membership. You don't even have to meet membership. You can, as you just have now mentioned, critical role, high salaries already satisfying my case. Well, it could be critical role, high salary, judge, membership. Even if membership is struck down, you have 3 strong criteria. And then it just comes down to whether your critical role and your high salary and your, well, more so critical role and high salary, or so critical role shows that you've risen to the top of your field. Quantum Learner asks, I don't have any research papers in my profile, but I have significant original contribution to my organization and outside with my side projects to many nonprofit orgs. Can I show in my EB-1 petition? Well, depends on, so going with your field, you don't need research papers unless research is core to your original contribution. If it is an industry-focused original contribution, then you don't need papers. I don't know what you mean by can I show in my EB-1 petition, but original contributions, it's about whether you've generated significant attention and or can show significant impact of your original contribution, or commercialization, I mean, not impact, well, commercial impact. That's what you want to be showing, those 2 things. Significant attention, commercial impact. Those 2 things will be crucial to your original contributions claim. So make sure you can show evidence of that. And it seems like your side projects with nonprofit organizations, you're going to have add more context to that as to how that's relevant to original contributions in regards to significant attention and commercialization. Riley asks, do you have any suggestion for membership apart from IEEE? Depends on your field. For software, ACM, CRA. I think there was like one called USRSE. Let me think. Developer weeks. Not dev networks, advisory boards. That's not really a membership. It's more of a board opportunity. Someone in my newsletter actually recently got lead dev. So look into lead dev. And I've listed out some information about lead dev as well. What else? I'll look for more, but I think that's it. Someone was saying in my private group something about IAENG. That's another one. But yeah, those are the ones I have in mind for software. Anyone else have questions? I have time for one more question. All right, no more questions. Thank you, everyone, for joining today's live stream. Oh, wait, I do. How can I reach out from a profile evaluation? Ping me on LinkedIn. Yeah, if you're watching from LinkedIn, you can just ping me on LinkedIn. If not, I think my LinkedIn is in my, yeah, it's in the YouTube video descriptions. So you can do that too. We just link my LinkedIn. Yeah, they're listed in the Excel sheet, Morelli. And if you don't see them, just ping me. All right, last question, Samuel. Possibility of an operations manager self-petition with 20 years experience. I don't know if you mean by DIYing your petition or petitioning on your own through EB-1A. DIYing, I don't really have any insight into that. Self-petitioning, as in going for EB-1A, it does sound like it is possible because you have over 20 years of experience. If you can show a series of linear critical roles, that's even better for your EB-1A. But it really depends on what kinds of activities you've already done and which criteria you've already worked towards. Ping me on LinkedIn if you want to speak further. Right. That's all for today's. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have that much insight into DIYing. Don't really have a take on that. Right. That's all for today's live stream. Thank you, everyone, for joining.